Welcome to today's fit, here with Chris. Going to have a look at his irons today, and anything in particular that you're wanting to focus on and you're finding, what's the kind of key for today?
Really looking to try and find out whether the current irons that I've got are still the right ones. I've obviously been using them for a fair few years now. Trying to look at whether I can control dispersion a bit better and improve strike as well.
Got it. And been playing a long time?
Been playing since I was early teens, gave up for a bit.
Not long then?
No, not long.
Yeah.
And then picked it back up late 20s. So.
Okay, cool. And I think you said you've been doing some swing work recently as
Yes, yeah, come back off the back of 3 months worth of lessons,
Yeah.
trying to work on my tempo control and then also trying to keep my club path in a fairly sensible range.
Okay, so great stuff. Well, let's get loosened up. I'll run you through the info on the screen and we'll take it all from there.
Sounds good?
Let's get going.
Awesome.
Yeah, so looking at Chris's clubs, of which the data will come up on the screen for you now, is that they're a little bit longer than standard. They're 714 AP2, so they're back from 2014, so a good 10 years old. And really, as a head, good for launch and spin. Yeah, quite nice, and yeah, the playability bit of it, the controllability should be good. Not the most forgiving heads in the world, but tend to produce a little bit of a higher flight. So certainly relative to current heads, there's a bit less mass in the heel and the toe, so it gives a bit less help off center. But nice soft fit. And from a shaft point of view, Diamond Gold S300s, so right up there at the heavier weight end of things. So a little bit longer than standard, heavier shaft, slightly heavier grip. Swing weight, nothing exceptional, just over D3. So the bit I'm going to be really looking at is Chris's height. Potentially, do we want to go a little bit longer, and can managing the weight get a little bit more face control? Obviously, once we've got a bit of base data, we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But there's nothing really untoward there. Lofts are, would have been stronger than standard back when these came out. 1, maybe 2 degrees, certainly 1 degree stronger. So we'll get a little look at where the ball flight is, see what we can do from there. And strike-wise, would you say strike pattern pretty solid?
Yeah, if I'm catching one, my bad ones are heavy.
Okay.
Heavy contact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just happens when I crunch down on it or lose a bit of height in my in my swing. So
yeah, cool. We got a couple more. We got a good base on there.
There's the bad one.
Okay. Let's move that so it's not under your feet. Nice. Okay, that gives us a good baseline. So in the main, there's nothing. The good is there's a lot of consistency to your swing lines. So looking at the data here, the tolerances, these numbers here, actually your angle of attack and your path are really, really consistent. What I can see from how you've got to move the club is it ties into where the weight is. There's a lot of weight. Dynamic Golds are as heavy, give or take, are as heavy as you get. They're not, the swing weight's not ridiculous. The balance is actually quite neutral.
Okay.
So whilst when they came out, they're a ½ inch longer than standard, they're about a ¼ inch over standard now.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, other than the total weight being heavy, they're not predominantly head heavy, grip heavy. It's quite an even balance through. But there's just a lot of mass you've got to move. So in terms of as you start down, you then got to get the club there. So if you've got a tendency to get a little bit over the top, the club gets behind you, that shoulder's going to throw, and that's going to chuck it out to in.
Yeah.
So the one that had the shall we say the kind of the less than ideal result, actually swing line slightly more over the top and left, but not much.
Not much.
So it's not like anything wildly different happened. But if you're having to shift that much mass and get out of effectively over the top a little bit, then if you get marginally different distance from the ball, or if it just gets outside the line a little bit more, then you're putting the hosel for the ball.
Yeah.
But flight-wise, when you like those ones, when you get them squared off, then it spins absolutely fine. Launch angle's a hair on the stronger side, but that makes sense with the angle of attack.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you get a little bit more sort of out to in and trapped, squeezed onto it, then dynamically you're hitting down 5 or 6 degrees. It's only a degree or so steeper than kind of orthodox, so it's not massively, but you'll get a little bit more you get a little more on top of it, so you deal off it a bit more. But you've got loads of ball speed. You know, club speed's up over 90, so you know, it's a case of when you get it, it goes. But yeah, you've got to fight the club a little bit, I think, rather than being able to. One, I want to see you still a little taller, so I definitely want to go another quarter inch longer. That'll help hold posture a bit more. But if you're not having to kind of fetch the club, then it just means being a bit more balanced, and you're moving the club rather than having to fight it a little bit.
Yeah, understood.
So I think for me, that's where I can see there being a putting you back in control of where the club's going, rather than having to almost force it a little bit. Okay.
That felt so much nicer.
Took a reasonable bit of shaft weight out, so taking about 15 grams out of the shaft.
Yeah, it felt a lot lighter in my hand.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so where first one's that bit of a sighter, and then you put a bit more into it, and it looks like the bottom end's got a little out of sync.
Okay.
So I'm just going to, same sort of mass, but even the weight up.
Okay.
So we can see, I mean, straight away dropping 15, 17 grams at the shaft weight, and Chris, it's a lot easier. But it's still, the club head's still a little bit, doesn't look like synced up quite yet. So just looking at the different balances of shaft, is it head weight or is it shaft balance point? So doing a little bit of discovery on that to sort of dial in. Once we start to see a pattern where it gets the head more under control, then I can start working on the dead weight a little bit more. So yeah. Oh yeah, so better without the heavier head.
Yeah.
Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, that felt flushed off the face.
And immediately, like as you move, the club head came with you.
Yeah.
So with the, now we can get a light, if it's a Titleist head that works best from a flight point of view, we can get slightly lighter heads in those. I think I've got a couple next door. But where that kind of got the swing was only a couple of points heavier, but it got the head a little bit sort of separated. So whereas that straight away, it's all come with you. So that then means there should be less variability in where your low point is, where your strike point is.
Understood.
And then not having to fetch the head through as well. So that's a good start. Okay. Yeah, so that second swing, first one's always the kind of the let's see how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, 91 miles an hour. Lovely contact. That one you can see you put a bit more in. It's only half a mile an hour, but you can see you kept going, putting, you know, as you put engine in the handle, you just keep going through the swing, and just look like it got away from you a little bit. So I'm going to pull the dead weight up a little bit. Okay. I don't want to go heavier than this. I'll see one more with that. Just if we go heavier, it's going to start to get behind you again. Like that one was a solid move. A nice result. You know, the result's all good. But by going heavier and getting behind, you then got to fetch it, and that brings in the shut face that brings in the left.
Yeah.
Whereas your natural shot is that little bit of a fade,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit of one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want you to have to go all guns blazing at it the whole time. So this is definitely kind of 120 grams as your top out on shaft weight.
Yeah, go on. Double check your diary, and then my diary's all on there. And then just book in with me and
Yeah, it's just getting to the point where as you move, the club's just dropping onto back hip a little. So as you fire, it's got a little bit of that coming into it. So that's hit well, but it's starting to go, it's gone miles, but it's starting to go left.
Yes.
So, right.
Is that a me thing though? You can be honest.
There's elements of it a little bit because your swing direction, your pattern is a little bit left, but we didn't. If the club gets too heavy, you then have to fetch it, and that shuts the head down as well, rather than being out in front and being able to control the club face. So yes, there are patterns that you do. That a slight pull is going to be a miss because your path tends to get a little bit left, but we don't want the club to exaggerate it.
Yeah, understood.
So the moment it gets heavy and behind you, then you've got to fetch at it, and that brings in the left going left.
Yeah.
So
The disaster.
rein it back a little bit. Should find that one.
Be all right, I reckon. That'll be left.
Okay. It's left, but it's not really shaping too far left. So I don't mind that one too much because it's only got, in terms of shot shape, we're only looking at, 5 yards. So it's not like it's left and ripping like when we went heavy, only had to fetch it.
Yeah.
That then had a decent bit of shot shape on it. So the last shot with the heavier shaft, that had 22 yards of shot shape on it. That's problematic.
That's tree bound.
But that is, 5 yards is nothing.
No, of
just
course,
over the width of the bay. So okay, let's see another one, maybe two with that. Okay, come back to that one. I mean, dead weight wise, where we're at now, it's just sort of 115 to 118 grams. That's in a really nice place. So you can start to see that's now getting out in front of you and you're just turning on to it and collecting the ball. Much cleaner in terms of lines. So like that 1.5 on the path and 0.4 on the face. It's definitely, if we err heavy, that's when that right shoulder gets over the top a little bit more. So
it's interesting because obviously I've been trying to work on that number. The path number used to be 6 and 7s.
Yeah.
So obviously that needed to come under control anyway. But it's interesting to find out how much the club weight also helps on that.
Yeah, and you'd think heavier would drop it in more.
Yeah.
But because of where it gets relative to where you are, so you think, okay, heavier, I can drop in and send the club more that way. But actually, if it gets to there, too far behind, then either you're going to go that way, which some players' pattern would be. Yours is your upper body, your chest and shoulders get involved more. So the moment it goes here, that's what you've got to do to deliver the club. So ironically, it's having the opposite effect. You'd think, logic would say, well, less weight, surely that's going to allow you to throw it over the top.
Yeah.
But it's more what it does in transition. It doesn't drop behind, therefore you don't have to then fetch at it. So you can just turn and collect it more.
That's interesting.
So dead weight's nice, but that doesn't sync up as well as the last shaft. So, okay, switch that one out. Where we've come down a reasonable bit in weight from Chris's current shafts at 130, 132, we're now between 115 and 120. So you could see from a couple of the earlier shafts, 115 was, I think as Chris gets confident, that's not going to quite be there to hit against. We went up, same shaft, 5 grams heavier, just looked like it was had to be full bore at it, and then we got the one that goes left. So brought the dead weight down a little bit, which is in a really nice spot, but just going between the models just to get the balance point of the shaft syncing up, which I think we might have already seen with the previous one, not the one we just hit, the previous one, but it's going to cross-reference another shaft and then go back to it just to confirm. But yeah, much cleaner lines through the ball, which is great. So it's definitely that shaft.
That feels so delightful.
So interesting, got okay, slight draw, but that going back to that, having just kind of dropped literally just either side of it,
Yeah.
in terms of dead weight and balance point, that all of a sudden looks like you just let the swing go.
Yeah.
I'm going to increase head weight just a fraction, but yeah, that just looked so free.
It feels, yeah, exactly that. It feels like I'm not doing anything. It's up and then down and.
Yeah. So for those eagle-eyed amongst you, you may have spotted a friend of ours sat in the corner pretending to do some work.
I am working.
Oh, sorry, doing lots of hard work. Yeah. So, what joy do we have you here for today, then?
I think we're gapping one of my clubs, hopefully, because I've got a big gap, but I'm also watching my husband have his fitting, so yeah.
So all down to this one then. Yeah, it's all your fault, Kate. All your fault. And we're going to do a little bit of a catch-up, a brief video, which will be on the channel sometime soon. A little bit of a follow-up to your fit. Find out how you're getting on.
Sounds good, yeah.
So we're going to test a couple of different head styles to see if it helps. One, just a little bit with the way the club swings. Just mass position can change it a little bit. So, for example, the Mizuno you're hitting has a little less tungsten in the heel and the toe.
Okay.
This one, and then one of the other Titleists we get, there's a bit more in the bottom end, and it does change the way it moves a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll just see what it does to ball flight dynamics as well.
Cool.
So. This will be a softer feel because of the infill. So it's still a forged head like the Mizuno, but they've got a different sort of elastomer polymer on the inside that dampens the sound down, so it does make it feel quite soft. So try not to overthink the swing.
Okay.
Just essentially 2 turns and free it up. Yeah. I think that's where your first swing with each option is the sort of sighter swing is sometimes the best one because you're just swinging.
Yeah.
And then you can see you can almost start to, some of the old feels start to kick back in, whereas actually the more you can disengage hands on, just literally 2 turns and collect it.
Okay.
There, it's where the brain gets in the way a little bit. Yeah. And you can see kind of your synchronization just changes. It's almost like you're trying to play a shot that you don't need to.
Okay. So just try and keep it quiet.
Yeah, just as I say, that kind of tempo, rhythm side of things.
Yeah.
But you can let the swing go. Now you don't. It's not a case of hitting at it, but you can just free it up a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Solid. So a little bit of a clickier, harder feel to this head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and something you kind of notice, good, bad.
Yeah, definitely noticed the impact sound coming off of it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, no vibrations or anything from the hands, obviously. Yeah, I think it feels like you get a good level of feedback.
Yeah.
In terms of, I feel like I have struck it and got one out there. Yeah, it's definitely more than the last one.
And something that kind of, would you say does it have an impact on how you feel about the shot, or is it more a case of as long as the ball goes in the right direction, don't really mind?
That's always a bonus.
Yeah.
I think
It doesn't have to have an influence.
No.
For some people, it's really important, the sound of it. Others kind of go like, I don't care as long as the result's good.
Yeah, I do like the feel on when it comes off the face.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a. I suppose to a certain extent, it's almost a little bit confidence boosting, having a noise of it coming off that you know that you've hit one. But yeah, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, it's not a major influence. Okay,
No.
yeah. So just going to put a line on the ball here. So I want to check that the lie's not influencing your start line. Just to make sure that's not a major thing.
Okay.
I think from a shot pattern point of view, it can be that it's just a case of undoing compensations and kind of getting used to not having to get the club to the ball. As long as the club and you are moving well together, that's then something that you can adapt to, or kind of, I say it's getting out of habits. It's actually kind of the more you free it up. So sometimes the earliest swings we said earlier are the truest ones because there's no expectation. Just going, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And it's just a freed up move, and those are nice and straight.
Yeah.
So it's probably a case of a bit of, let's say, decluttering what you've had to do to make them work. But it's just making sure that we check each element of the club to say, right, is it doing something or is it not? And then build that into the spec.
Sounds good.
Again, such a nice clean hit and move through the ball. Okay, let's have a look at where that marks. Okay, so he strikes a little on the toe, but the line's dead square up the face. So lie-wise isn't having a major influence.
So we're looking at woods today. Tell me all. What are we after? So it's not just wood, it's irons as well.
Yeah, so like that move there, from a line point of view, 1.6, 0.0. Strike got a little toey? Oh, a little here. Just a little bit off centre, but actually then delivery line, that's as neutral as you get. That's just a little bit of strike point back towards the toe side to get the ball speed up to get you at 185, 190. So that's the bit that says to me, I don't want to force too much from a club because you can do that without it looking like a manipulation.
Yes.
So, yeah, swing lines are nice on these.
They feel really nice when they come off.
Yeah, so that little bit more loft, that one got a little bit steeper onto it, but that little bit more loft has just picked the flight up a touch. Now, if we try and force too much flight onto it, then the spin's going to start to go up. But that's 6.5 down. If you get to 4, 5 down, then you pick the flight up to kind of 14 odd launch, mid fives again on spin. But the ball speed consistency of this head has definitely jumped up, and you're up at smash number 142, 142, 145. That was one that came out a bit lower. 141. So there was one that was a little bit less well hit at 134, 125 ball speed, but the rest are 130, 133, 132, 130. So your shot value consistency is just going up a little bit by having a slightly more forgiving frame of head.
Makes sense.
So these are your carries. So you can see tighter dispersion.
What I quite like with it is one that's not, because this here it's not quite middled.
Yep.
It's not really dropping. It's 182. It's not really dropped off too much.
Yeah, and I felt that obviously from the strike, I knew it wasn't a clean strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then obviously seeing the numbers off the back of it.
Mm. So numbers-wise, that's the consistency of yardage. It's retained at just a 5-yard tolerance. So there's the odd one that was just a little bit of a mischeck, but it's not. The flight numbers are very consistent. and it's not dropped that much back on carry versus then a nice solid hit, a little bit of a fade. You're between 185 and 190, which is just representative of club speed. That's a straight shot, good hit. That was in the, I think that may have been before I changed the loft onto it, but yes, angle of attack at 6.5, it's a little on the stronger side, but bringing the loft back, basically in line with your current lofts. We don't need to go any stronger than those. No. And then if you just start to quieten, if I can find the right shot, starting to quieten the angle of attack off a bit, we see launch angles coming up, but the spin's not flaring up with it. So yeah, some really nice sort of efficient flight numbers off of this. So this, that was before we weakened the loft back. That was down a bit too low on loft. So it's coming out a bit of a bullet, but even with that, it's still 87 feet. So bringing that loft back up to where your current ones are has then got us that there, a bit of a fade. Then 103 feet, 48. It's for your ball speed, that's not excessive. Okay. It's a slight fade. Square that off again, spin comes down a little bit, but there's plenty of flight there. But ball speed consistency is really good.
Awesome.
So decent bit of a change. Dropping about 15 grams, 13, 14 grams on the shaft weight. It's interesting how the moment we did that, how much it kind of let you open the swing up.
Yeah.
And actually, as we hit a few more, we could see you start to just unwind and free up rather than almost sort of finding the ball with your hands. Actually, kind of where we were saying, I don't want to overfit for shot shape. Actually, we started to see some much straighter ones right at the back end where we were switching around with a couple of heads. But the Mizuno head, noticeable improvement on a little bit more forgiveness, but just a bit more consistency of ball speed. So clubbing-wise should become a darn sight easier.
That'd be nice.
So yeah, I mean it's fairly decent change in the shaft. Head style, marginal change.
Yep.
But I think from a game point of view, some really good games.
I think it's been good. It's definitely nice to. They've felt easier to swing.
Yeah.
I think going back to your point, not feeling like I'm fetching it, can just relax and let it go. And then the bad shots are not actually that bad.
No, nice. The drop off really went to that head. The front to back dispersion really tightened up, which is nice. And it does go to show that historically we've always been heavy for control, whereas ironically for you, it's heavy's got you out of control because it's forced that shoulder to get involved. Which if you've got a natural tendency to do so, it just exaggerates it rather than actually dropping a bit of weight. It's actually allowed you to kind of quieten things off and just turn, rather than that right shoulder wanting to get over rather than getting over the top. Yes, it means angle of attack is still strong, but you're not having to work hard to fetch the club, and then that kind of declutters a little bit. So yeah.
Good. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Please see smiling. Definitely happy.
Yeah, very enjoyable, and really feel like I've come out with going to come out with a set of clubs that's going to suit me for a long time.
Great stuff.
Thank you very much.